I've been called practically everything, from a divine healer to the incarnate Son of God and demon and everything else, mental telepathy and all kinds, but that still doesn't change it a bit. He's Jesus Christ, and we are His people. By His grace, He has redeemed us, and that's all we are. And it's Him that does all things by the will of the Father. We believe that, don't we? And I was praying for the little boy, and I said, Heavenly Father, I ask Thee to be merciful. And I thought the custodian turned the light in my face. And I seen it getting brighter and brighter, and I said, Lord, and I thought, oh my, that man, that's, if he doesn't like me, he ought to be gentleman enough not to do that. And it kept getting brighter and brighter, and I thought, oh my, and I raised my eyes to motion to him to, open my eyes rather, to motion to him to quit doing that, and when I did, it wasn't him, it was the angel of the Lord come whirling like that. It's coming right to me. Now, I do not know, to be honest, whether I dropped the child, whether he jumped out of my arms or the Holy Spirit take me. Now, I don't know. But he got on the floor, and his little feet were just as normal as they could be. And here he started walking down, and the mother of the child saw it, what had happened, and she just screamed and jumped forward, and she seen the light. And the Nazarene girl, she raised up like that and began screaming as loud as she could and run away to the piano. And as she ran away, the piano constantly plays the great physician, now is near the sympathizing Jesus. He speaks the drooping hearts that you're, and this angel of God settled over there. 700 and something people come giving their hearts to Christ, falling over the aisles. He has vindicated himself hundreds of times. Many of the articles is written in the book back there, if you pick it up, and of the things that I couldn't have time to tell. Well, some of them would say, oh, it was psychology.
In January 1950, William Branham held a healing campaign in Houston, Texas, where he faced criticism from a Baptist minister named Dr. Best. He challenged Branham's belief in divine healing, leading to a public debate. William Branham initially ignored the challenge, but at Mr. Bosworth's insistence, a public debate was arranged. The debate drew a large audience from various denominations. Despite his hesitations about engaging in public disputes, Branham allowed Mr. Bosworth to represent their position. During the debate, Mr. Bosworth presented numerous scriptures supporting the belief in biblical divine healing and challenged Dr. Best to disprove these scriptures. Mr. Bosworth's arguments were well received, leading to Dr. Best conceding defeat. In his defeat, Dr. Best protested that William Branham, the divine healer, should come down to prove divine healing. When William Branham took the platform, he emphasized that he did not consider himself a debater or divine healer but a preacher of divine healing through the atonement. He stated,
I can't say heal no one, but I said this I do say. When I was a baby born up in the state of Kentucky, according to my own dear mother, which has been vindicated through my life, I said there was a light came in the room of that little old huddle there where it was at, an old floor in it. Didn't even have a window, it just had a little old thing for a window there, like a little door. They pushed it open by 5 o'clock in the morning, and this light circled in just as it was breaking day. I said, since that time it's been with me. It's an angel of God. He met me in person a few years ago, down through my life. He told me things have happened, and I have told it just as he told me, and I challenge anybody at any place to go to the city where I was raised or anywhere else that a statement's ever been made in the name of the Lord, but what comes just exactly the way it said it was.
After these words, a light was seen above Branham's head on the platform, and a photographer captured the moment. Branham left the platform with the prophetic statement, God will testify. I shall say no more. The photographers quickly went to work developing the photographs for the next morning's news. One noticed something odd as the initial photographs taken before Branham's were blank. When he pulled the last print from the developing solution, there, on that last photograph, was the light in a visible form resting over the head of William Branham. The incident concludes with the photograph being sent to Washington, D.C. for copyright purposes and examined by expert George J. Lacey. The light struck the lens of the camera. Lacey confirmed that the photograph captured the light, acknowledging the significance of the event. Branham decided not to commercialize the photograph, entrusting it to Douglas Studios with the condition that it remains affordable for everyone. Certainly, the photograph capturing the supernatural halo light on William Branham stands as a pivotal moment in the history of Christianity and holds profound significance for believers of William Branham's message. This image is a visual testimony, a divine manifestation that has echoed through time, reinforcing the belief in the extraordinary nature of Branham's ministry. For believers, the picture symbolizes the tangible presence of the divine, confirming the spiritual power and authenticity associated with William Branham. It serves as a constant reminder of the supernatural events during his ministry, inspiring faith, and deepening the connection between followers and the message he delivered. In the fabric of Christian history, this photograph holds a unique place, representing a moment when the heavenly realm intersected with the earthly, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of those who witnessed it. The image continues to be a source of inspiration, contemplation, and spiritual reflection for believers, shaping their understanding of the divine and the extraordinary nature of God's work in the modern era. However, just as Jesus faced accusations and skepticism amid his teachings and miracles, so too did William Branham encounter doubters and skeptics regarding his ministry and the phenomenon of the supernatural halo. From the moment the picture capturing the supernatural halo light on William Branham emerged, skeptics arose, questioning the authenticity of the phenomenon. Their doubts echoed through time, creating a narrative of skepticism that persisted despite the profound impact the image had on believers. Even with the expert examination by George J. Lacey, an authority in questionable documents, confirming the photograph's authenticity, skeptics continued to cast shadows of disbelief over this extraordinary event. While numerous conspiracy theories abound, in this video, we will delve into the most prominent ones to unravel the layers of skepticism and appropriate counter-arguments surrounding this remarkable moment in Christian history. Much like the opposition faced by Jesus Christ from religious scholars who questioned his teachings due to the absence of formal scholarly education and the fact that he was not part of their religious denomination, William Branham encountered skepticism regarding his unedited transcriptions from audio recordings. The unique process of transcribing directly from speech to text preserved the spontaneity of Branham's delivery, resulting in occasional grammatical errors and inconsistencies. This parallels the challenges faced by Jesus, who, despite lacking formal education, conveyed profound spiritual truths that were often scrutinized by scholars. Branham, like Jesus, prioritized authenticity over scholarly conventions, openly acknowledging and rectifying occasional errors and emphasizing the essence of his spiritual message beyond linguistic intricacies. In both cases, the opposition stemmed from a misunderstanding of the transformative power of genuine spiritual insight over formal education.
At Fort Wayne meeting, I never will forget it. I was out there just preaching away, and I come back behind the curtain after service and direction of the 2 weeks to walk out. And there's a fine scholar walked up to me and said, "Brother Branham, that's your grammar's terrible." "Yes, sir, I know that." I said, "I just had a 7th grade education. My father died. I had to take care of him." "Oh, that's no excuse." He said, "My," I said, "the mistake that you made tonight." I said, you should know better grammar than that. The crowd that you speak before said, "What's a disgrace?" I guess he was, well, Mr. Webster, so I said, "Well, sir," I said, "I know that's right." I said, "But," he said, "well, you could take a correspondence." I said, "Yes, sir, but you see, other times," I said, I had to take care of a big family and everything, and now, to make the ends meet, and I said, "And now," I said, "the Lord's work is keeps me so busy." I said, "I don't have time to take it." He said, "Oh, that's no excuse." He said, "I heard you tonight out there saying, all of you people that come by this pulpit tonight, believing will get healed." I said, "Yes, sir, what was wrong with that? I don't know this truth." And he said, "Well, you should not say pulpit." He said, "You should say pulpit." He said, "Those people appreciate you more if you said pulpit." So he gets me a little too hard, So I put my hand over on the shoulder. I said, "Brother, I don't mean to hurt your feelings." But then people out there don't care whether I say pulpit or pulpit. They want me to preach the gospel and produce what I'm talking about. They see Jesus Christ. That's all they care about.
First argument. There was no supernatural light. The light in the controversial photograph could be one of the floodlights in the auditorium. Skeptics often point out that George J. Lacey's report lacked commentary on whether the light source was natural, like indoor electric lighting, or supernatural. Despite newspaper articles from around the same time showcasing floodlights in the Colosseum, including images of a Beatles concert, George J. Lacey's report does not provide any information regarding the origin of the light. Counter-argument. The argument against the supernatural light captured in the controversial photograph during William Branham's healing meeting in Houston suggests that it could be a result of indoor floodlights. However, a closer examination of Branham's life, his personal experiences, and the events surrounding the photograph reveals a compelling counter-narrative that supports the supernatural nature of the light. Let us take a chronological sequence of the events that transpired. The birth and early years. William Branham's testimony begins with the supernatural, noting that the pillar of fire hung over him when he was just a 3-minute-old baby. This sets the stage for a lifelong connection with divine manifestations, suggesting that the light in question is part of a broader pattern of supernatural occurrences.
The first thing, as a little baby boy, 3 minutes old, the pillar of fire hung over where I was born, in a little log cabin in Kentucky. All my life, it's come to me, giving me visions.
Baptism in the Ohio River. The testimony includes a vivid account of a pillar of fire descending from heaven during a baptism in the Ohio River. Thousands of witnesses attested to this event, emphasizing the public nature of these supernatural occurrences from the early stages of Branham's ministry.
I was baptizing them down at the end of Spring Street in Jeffersonville, Indiana, in the Ohio River, when nearly 7,000 or 8,000 people standing on the bank bear witness at 2 o'clock in the evening, June 1933, how that a pillar of fire come down out of heaven and hung over where I was standing. The Courier Journal and Times News North, it was the, I'll get the name of the paper just in a minute, if I can think of it, Louisville paper. Great article, Mystic Light appears over local Baptist evangelists while baptizing at river. Very mystic thing. People could not understand. Many fainted at the presence of it. The angel of the Lord come right down and hung over where I was. The Louisville Herald is what it was. Louisville Herald Post of Louisville, Kentucky.
Photographed during William Branham's presence on platform/pulpit. The narrative progresses to the photograph in question, taken during a period when photography was prohibited during Branham's presence on platforms or pulpit. The fact that the photographer defied this rule and took a picture, especially during a moment when the audience was reportedly reacting with screaming and others fainting, adds an element of curiosity and suggests that something extraordinary was happening.
And now they don't let pictures be taken while I'm under the anointing, because that angel is a light too and it interferes with me. They can take them any time before that, it's all right. So then, so they began taking those pictures, and then when I went down, I said, now if I have misrepresented anything, you can't prove that by the Bible. Neither he's whipped in divine healing as far as that by the Bible. You've seen he couldn't even answer one question. I said, but the angel of the Lord, that's true, and if I'm true, God will speak for me. And about that time, it sounded like a wind shook the building. And when it did, coming down, visible, here come this pillar of fire moving down. And Kipperman, just by way, shot the picture again. I started walking to the platform. The Kipperman and them had took all their pictures, and when I go, they don't let take pictures in the meeting because they sell them and so forth. So they said that no more pictures taken. Brother Lindsay and them dropped back the people from taking the pictures and so forth.
The role of Branham's wife. Skeptics propose that the light could be one of the floodlights in the auditorium. However, the sequence of events, including the prohibition of photography during preaching, the audience's reaction, and the photographer's urgency to develop the pictures, challenges the floodlight theory. Branham's wife, a first-hand witness, played a crucial role in acknowledging the presence of the supernatural light. She was the second person to see the supernatural light and influenced Branham to move to the platform against his brother's advice.
He said that Brother Branham is in the building. He said if he wants to come and dismiss the audience, all right, but I won't expose him if not. And my brother said, now you sit still. I said, I'm sitting still, ain't I? So I was just sitting there. He said, now if he does want to, said I know he's in the building, but if he wants to come, and I was sitting there. I thought, well, I'm sitting still, and the police looked over to me. I sat there, and I heard something going. I know I couldn't sit still. Something just said, stand up. I said again, stand up. I stood up. Howard said, sit down. My wife said, don't, Howard, look. It changes my expression. My brother, Howard, and my wife.
Mi hermano y mi esposa estaban allí.
Howard. And so I started to raise up.
Yo me fui a levantar.
And Howard, my brother,
Y mi hermano,
he said, sit down.
siéntate, me dijo.
I said, I'm sitting down.
Y yo estoy sentado.
In just a moment,
Un momento.
I heard something.
Oí algo.
Just like those leaves that day in that tree,
Como las hojas de aquel árbol.
making a noise.
Haciendo dando un sonido.
Like that.
Así, como un ruido así.
And I looked up,
Y miré.
and he was there.
Y allí estaba él.
He said, stand on your feet.
Me dijo, ponte de pie.
So I got up,
Me levanté.
and my wife said to my brother,
Y mi esposa le dijo a mi hermano,
look at his face.
mira su rostro.
Let him alone.
Debunking the floodlight theory. Critics attempt to debunk the supernatural halo light in William Branham's photograph by comparing it to images from a Beatles concert and basketball players, alleging the presence of floodlights, lacks substantial evidence and overlooks crucial contextual details. The flawed assumption in critics' argument is the belief that the floodlight seen in other images from the same Colosseum must have existed during Branham's debate. However, two original photographs from the exact date and perspective of the debate, one taken by the Houston Press and the other by the Douglas Studio, do not show any floodlights. This stark contrast challenges the critics' hypothesis and raises questions about the timing of the floodlight installation. The original photographs taken on the date of the debate, notably the one by the Houston Press, provide clear evidence that the platform and Colosseum lacked the floodlights suggested by the critics. If the floodlights had indeed been present during the debate, they would have been captured in these contemporaneous images. The absence of such features in the genuine photographs weakens the critics' argument. Furthermore, the critics' comparison overlooks the distinctive features of the halo light captured in Branham's photograph. Unlike the floodlights in the critics' pictures, the halo light is not rectangular but circular, creating a distinct halo effect. The shape and characteristics of the light in Branham's photograph do not align with the rectangular floodlights presented by the critics. In conclusion, the critics' attempt to dismiss the supernatural halo light by drawing comparisons with unrelated images lacks empirical support. The evidence from contemporaneous photographs and the distinctive characteristics of the halo light itself stand as formidable counterpoints, emphasizing the need for a more nuanced and contextually grounded analysis before drawing definitive conclusions. Photograph copyright and expert examination. The urgency to copyright the photograph and subject it to expert examination in Washington, D.C., points to the uniqueness of the captured image. The fact that an expert in forensic document examination declared that light which caused an unusual atmosphere in the Colosseum struck the negative adds weight to the argument that this was not a mere play of lights but a genuine manifestation of the divine.
Mr. Kipperman went upstairs in the studio, and Mr. Ayers put the pictures in to be developed. He said, Mr. Best will want these pictures tomorrow, so we'll just put them in the asset and get the proofs for him for tomorrow. So he put them in there, and he sat there and smoked a cigarette. He was thinking about it. When he went, Mr. Kipperman come down, and when he went to take in the dark room to get the pictures out, the first one he took, Mr. Best, blank. Second one, blank. Third, blank. Fourth, fifth, sixth, every one of them blank. Not on one of them was his poses with his finger, and that saintly old man's face, Mr. Bosworth. Not on one of them. And when he pulled the next one out, he had a heart attack. There was the angel of the Lord on the picture. They called for me. I couldn't come to him. Immediately at 11 o'clock, they rushed it away to Washington, D.C. for copyright.
Dismissing the possibility of the supernatural light as a mere effect of floodlights becomes untenable when examined within the broader context of William Branham's consistent encounters with the supernatural throughout his life. The unfolding sequence of events, marked by the breach of photography restrictions, the urgency to capture the unusual phenomenon, and the subsequent copywriting and expert examination of the photograph, forms a compelling counter-narrative. This narrative gains further credibility considering the first-hand account of Branham's wife, who, as the second person to witness the supernatural light, played a pivotal role in affirming its presence. Together, these elements weave a robust argument supporting the authenticity of the extraordinary light documented during Branham healing campaign in Houston as supernatural. Second argument, God did allow developing of the picture of Reverend Best pointing his finger at F. Bosworth. Critics point out an apparent inconsistency in William Branham's statements. He claimed that God would prevent a photograph of Dr. Best pointing his finger at Reverend Bosworth from developing. However, there exists a photograph contradicting this assertion, leading skeptics to question the reliability of Branham's supernatural claims. Counter-argument. The argument against William Branham's credibility based on the existence of a photograph showing Dr. Best pointing his finger at Reverend Bosworth lacks logical coherence when scrutinized in the context of the photographer's intentions and motivations. Dr. Best engaged the Douglas studio with the specific purpose of creating 6 glossies to be used as propagandistic material, intending to showcase his perceived victory over Reverend Bosworth. However, other independent photographers, such as the Houston Press, were present to capture the debate objectively and without bias. It's essential to distinguish between the deliberate propaganda photography by the Douglas studio and the unbiased documentation by independent photographers. The photograph critics often refer to was taken by the Houston Press. The Houston Press photograph, capturing Dr. Best pointing at Reverend Bosworth, was not part of a propaganda effort but a standard journalistic practice. The mere existence of a developed photo depicting Dr. Best's actions does not undermine William Branham's credibility. The 6 glossies commissioned by the Douglas studio failed to develop as intended, with the 7th photo being the exception, displaying the supernatural halo. In essence, when Branham spoke of God not allowing a picture of Dr. Best pointing his finger at Reverend Bosworth to develop, he was referring to the failure of the Douglas studio's planned propaganda with Dr. Best. The supernatural halo in the 7th photo, in contrast to the blank glossies, indicated divine intervention, emphasizing that God did not permit their intended propaganda to succeed. This distinction underscores the spiritual significance attached to the events and aligns with Branham's emphasis on the supernatural aspects of his ministry. Third argument. The FBI was never involved in the examination of the photograph. The FBI confirmed in a letter dated September 5, 1974, that Mr. Lacey was never an employee of the FBI. He was never the head of the FBI for fingerprints and documents. Counter-argument. While it's a fact that the FBI letter dated September 5, 1974, if not forged, clarified that George J. Lacey was not an official employee and head of fingerprints and documents for the FBI, it's crucial to examine the broader context of Mr. Lacey's career and his working relationship with the FBI. George J. Lacey, as the president of the American Society for Questioned Documents Examiners, ASC, held a significant role in forensic examination, particularly in questioned documents. The ASC's acknowledgement of his contributions reinforces his standing as a distinguished expert in the field. The intricacies of Mr. Lacey's involvement with the FBI go beyond formal titles. Historically, the FBI, under J. Edgar Hoover's leadership, relied on external experts, including private contractors, for forensic investigations. George J. Lacey's expertise was crucial in high-profile cases like the Bonnie and Clyde investigation, demonstrating a close working relationship with the FBI. Moreover, the FBI's utilization of outside experts for specialized forensic work aligns with the broader historical practices of the Bureau. By the 1930s, the FBI regularly employed experts on a case-by-case basis for various forensic tasks, reflecting a collaborative approach to crime solving. In essence, while George J. Lacey may not have held an official position within the FBI, his extensive involvement in significant cases, including those closely linked to the FBI, indicates a substantive connection. The letter's emphasis on formal titles may overlook the practical collaboration and shared expertise that characterized the relationship between George J. Lacey and the FBI. Again, William Branham's reference to George J. Lacey as the head of fingerprints and documents for the FBI has raised questions, especially in light of the FBI's clarification that Mr. Lacey was not an official employee in that capacity. However, when evaluating Branham's statement, it's crucial to consider the broader context and the semantics involved. Branham, as a public speaker and religious figure, might have used the term FBI in a more colloquial sense rather than in strict bureaucratic terms. Often, people use general terms like FBI to encompass various branches or departments related to law enforcement and forensic work. It's not uncommon for individuals to use such shorthand to convey a broader idea without delving into specific organizational structures. In this case, Branham might have been emphasizing Mr. Lacey's significant role in forensic investigations and his close association with law enforcement agencies, including but not limited to the FBI. The focus here should be on the nature of the work performed by Mr. Lacey rather than the specific official title or department. Furthermore, Branham, as a religious figure, might not have been intricately familiar with the exact bureaucratic details of law enforcement agencies. His characterization of Mr. Lacey's role might have been a simplified expression of the latter's expertise in forensic matters and collaboration with various law enforcement entities. Therefore, while the term FBI might not precisely align with the formalities of George J. Lacey's position, it could be viewed as a colloquial expression emphasizing the broader context of forensic work within law enforcement. Fourth argument, the picture never hung in the Any Hall of Religious Art in Washington, D.C. In fact, the Hall of Religious Art appears to be a figment of William Branham's imagination. Counter-argument. The assertion that the photograph never hung in the Hall of Religious Art in Washington, D.C., may be more of a linguistic nuance than a substantial refutation of its authenticity. William Branham, with his background and educational level, might have used a term like Hall of Religious Art in a more colloquial manner, and it could be a case of misinterpretation. Considering Branham's limited formal education, he, Brother Branham, might not have adhered strictly to precise institutional names or classifications. The term he used might have been an informal way of referring to a religious library or gallery in Washington, D.C., which may not have had an official name akin to Hall of Religious Art. As we speak now, the original photograph of the supernatural halo on William Branham can be found in the Library of Congress, Madison Building on the 3rd floor, LM 337 in Washington, D.C. Again, William Branham's linguistic variations, such as occasionally misstating numerical values, can be understood within the context of his educational background. These variations do not undermine the authenticity of his experiences or statements but rather reflect the informal and colloquial manner in which he communicated with his audience. Moreover, Branham acknowledges and corrects his own mistakes, as seen when he inadvertently says 700 instead of 7,000. His humility in acknowledging these errors underscores that these variations are not deliberate attempts to deceive but rather inadvertent linguistic slips. Therefore, when evaluating Branham's statements, it is essential to consider the broader context of his communication style, where minor linguistic discrepancies should be viewed as a product of his unique expression rather than as indicators of falsehood.
Brother Branham, did you mean to say 7,000 who had not bowed their knee to Balaam, or 700? 7,000 I meant to say. Forgive me for that, see. It's just a matter of speech. Now, yes, I meant, forgive me, please. And brethren, you on the tape out there, and friends, listen, I didn't mean to say that like that. I'm a minister of the gospel. Many times when I've preached that, I know that was 7,000. I just happened to say 700. I didn't mean just 700. I meant I just didn't read it out of the scripture. It just come to my mind while I was talking, and I just said 700 instead of 7,000. 1 Kings 19, Brother Branham, I believe that the number who did not bow the knee was, yeah, that's right, 700 instead. Thank you. That's correct. It was 700 instead of 7,000. Brother, 7,000 instead of 700. I see that?
Sixth argument. Branham said that the pillar of fire has accompanied him throughout his life and it sometimes talks to him. How can a light talk? Counter-argument. The criticism questioning the possibility of a light speaking is countered by referencing biblical instances where divine communication occurred through extraordinary means. In the case of Moses, a voice emanated from a burning bush, and with Paul's journey to Damascus, a light was accompanied by a voice. These biblical narratives establish a precedent for supernatural phenomena, including light, being vehicles for divine messages. Consequently, when William Branham speaks of communication with a talking pillar of fire, it aligns with a broader biblical tradition where such occurrences are documented and accepted as manifestations of divine intervention. Therefore, questioning Branham's experience based on the notion of a light talking becomes a matter of personal interpretation and acceptance of biblical narratives. Those who embrace the biblical account of God speaking through a burning bush and light may find resonance with Branham's experiences, considering them as part of a broader spiritual tradition where divine communication transcends ordinary modes of interaction. Conclusion statement. In the fabric of Christian history, the photograph capturing the supernatural halo above William Branham stands not just as an image but as an agreement to the extraordinary nature of his ministry. The chronological exploration of events, the meticulous examination by experts, and the eyewitness accounts all point towards a divine intervention that transcends mere visual interpretation. For believers, this photograph symbolizes a tangible connection to the divine, reinforcing the spiritual power and authenticity embedded in William Branham's message. It is a visual cue that echoes through time, reminding us of a moment when the earthly and the heavenly converged. In an era where skepticism persists, let us not forget the transformative power of genuine spiritual insight over formal education and linguistic intricacies. As we navigate the discourse surrounding this controversial photograph, let us remain open to the possibility that divine communication often defies conventional understanding. William Branham's experiences, much like those documented in biblical narratives, serve as a reminder that the divine often chooses extraordinary means to communicate its presence. Whether through a burning bush, a blinding light, or a supernatural halo, the message endures, calling us to reflect on the mysteries that lie beyond the ordinary. In the end, this debate is not just about a photograph, it's about the enduring impact of a moment that resonates with believers, stirring their faith and affirming the supernatural dimensions of William Branham's extraordinary ministry.